Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into a side of negotiation that honestly, most people just completely miss. We're talking about all those unspoken signals, the ones that can literally make or break a deal. We're going to break down the science behind what isn't said.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. Think about the last really important conversation you had. Are you 100% confident that you knew what was really being said? Beyond just the words they were using?
But imagine if you could go even further than just understanding. What if you could actually and ethically steer the conversation toward a better outcome for everyone? All by using some really fascinating insights from behavioral science.
And that is the real goal here, right? To go from just being a participant in a negotiation to someone who truly understands the human dynamics at play. It's like learning a whole new language, the language of human behavior.
Okay, check out this number, 93%. That's what researchers say is the impact of nonverbal communication in any face-to-face chat. I mean, that's just a huge number, isn't it? It means the overwhelming majority of what we communicate comes from how we say it, not just what we say.
And that brings us to what we call the unspoken advantage. Is this idea that the most important information, the most critical stuff in a negotiation, is often sent without a single word being spoken.
You see, a really great negotiator is kind of like a detective. You're constantly looking past the surface, past the words, to find the real clues, those subtle signals in their body language and tone of voice that tell you what the other person is really thinking.
All right, so how in the world do we actually do this? Well, it all starts with learning how to decode the table. This is about making a shift from just listening to words to actually seeing and understanding intentions. So here's a perfect example of that disconnect. Let's say you hear someone say, "Yeah, we'll definitely consider your offer." But as they say it, you see them lean back, cross their arms, maybe even give a little frown. Guess what? Those nonverbal cues are telling you a way more honest story.
And these are the signals you really want to watch for. Gestures and posture are pretty easy to spot, but the real gold is in the micro expressions. These are lightning-fast, totally involuntary facial expressions that flash across someone's face for just a fraction of a second. They reveal true emotion before the brain has a chance to hide it.
But just being able to spot these signals isn't the whole game. The next level is actually using that insight to make a difference, to have a real impact. And that's where the science of influence comes in. A really powerful concept here is something called nudging. Now, this is not about manipulation or forcing anyone's hand. It's about gently guiding choices by how they're presented. Think about it. A school cafeteria that puts the healthy food at eye level, that's a classic nudge to get kids to eat better.
And this whole thing creates its really powerful, totally ethical cycle. First, you get good at decoding what the other person truly wants. Then, you can apply these subtle nudges to guide the conversation in a positive way. And when people feel like you truly get them, it builds an incredible amount of trust. And that trust is what leads to those amazing win-win outcomes.
This quote right here, it just nails it. This is the whole point. The key skill is learning how to operate in that gap, that space between what someone says and what they actually mean. That's where the magic happens.
So, let's get practical. How do we take all these insights and use them to get to an agreement, especially when we're hitting a wall of resistance? Let's talk about how to turn a hard no into a possible yes. It really boils down to a few core techniques. You learn how to reframe an objection, so instead of a roadblock, it becomes a point of conversation. You can also tap into known psychological triggers, like reciprocity. That's our natural human instinct to give something back when we've received something of value.
Now, I want to be clear. This isn't just a bunch of abstract theory to read about. These are real, practical skills that you need to be able to use on the fly, often in some pretty high-pressure moments.
So how do you get good at this stuff? Practice, practice, practice. You dive into real-world case studies to see how it all works, and then you get your hands dirty with practical exercises and role-playing so you can build that muscle memory in a safe space.
So, you might be wondering, who is this for? Who really gets the most out of developing this kind of, strategic advantage in how they communicate? The truth is, the applications are just massive. I mean, just think about it. If you're a corporate leader, you can better understand what your team is really feeling. If you're in sales, you can finally hear a client's real hesitation, not just the one they tell you. And for a lawyer in a tense negotiation, this is an absolute game changer.
So the next time you walk into a high-stakes meeting, just remember there's a whole other conversation happening, a hidden language of body language and tone. The only question left is, are you listening?